is Dave Palumbo with RxMuscle.com. We're here at the 2009 IFBB Europa Super Show. I'm here with Big Sean Andros. We're ready to do the final wrap-up of the night's events. Sean, it's amazing, but it's actually not midnight for once in a while. We started this show at 2:30 in the afternoon. It only took about four and a half hours, and we actually will have time to get some dinner tonight.
Yeah, I like how they do things here in Texas. 2:30 start to the pre-judging, and I might get dinner.
The night show.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Now let's talk about what happened. Dennis James wins 2 in a row. He wins in Tampa last week, comes back here, wins pretty unanimously here tonight. Probably the only guy who's packing serious pro or Olympia level muscle, as I like to say. He's a former top 6 at the Olympia. Did you think it was even close at this point?
Dennis James was definitely the clear winner tonight. That said, I don't think he's the old Dennis James that was a top 5 Olympia competitor, or even the Dennis James of last year that brought a tighter package. He didn't impress me that much, but nobody else showed up to beat him.
You know, I have to agree with you there. I don't think he's the Dennis James of old. And in fact, tonight, Bill Wilmore, in my mind, might have had a really good argument for saying that I should win this show, because he showed up bigger, fuller, and just as hard as he did last night at the prejudging and last week at Tampa. I wouldn't have had a problem if they would have given this to Wilmore.
Yeah, I think if you went picture for picture with Wilmore and Dennis James, you'd pick Wilmore. But he doesn't have the wow factor, and he doesn't have the same name as Dennis that would get him that win.
Now Wilmore does bring probably his best package to date. His legs look bigger than I've seen him look in a long time. His conditioning is always spot on. He's one of these guys, I call him the nicest guy in bodybuilding, because you know what, no one ever has a bad word to say about this guy. And Wilmore, all in all, really presents a package that I think that is pleasing to the eye.
Yeah, it is very pleasing, but I still don't think when he gets on there at the Olympia stage he's going to even crack the top 10. It's not of that caliber yet.
Let's talk about maybe perhaps the craziest placing of the night. Joel Stubbs, who finishes out of the top 10, I believe, last week, comes back 1 week later. He definitely does bring a tighter package and finishes 3rd here tonight, qualifying for the Olympia. I'm not sure if this is his first Olympia that he's qualified for. I don't believe it is. But what did you think in your mind was the factor? Was it a different judging panel, or did Joel bring something to the stage that he didn't have last week?
He did improve. His conditioning was better. His glutes were striated. You can't beat his upper body. That being said, he was not the 3rd best bodybuilder here.
You know what? The guy's upper body is almost retarded looking. I mean, he's got Ronnie Coleman, genetics up there. The shoulders, it's not just his back. The shoulders, arms, chest. His side poses, despite him having small legs, are just really good. And it's a shame when you see those small quads. Obviously, I know he's had, I think, 2 knee surgeries. He's had some quad issues in the past. I'm like rooting for him on stage to get legs, because I think when he does, this guy is a serious danger to these other guys.
Absolutely. Phenomenal upper body. Everything is there. He could stand with any top Olympia competitor, but those quads are just going to kill him.
Let's talk about another guy who's got some leg issues, Fouad Abiad. Last week didn't seem to hurt him. He took 2nd to Dennis James. I think he was a little disappointed tonight. I could see his reaction backstage. He almost didn't make the top 5 initially, and then he wound up sneaking back into that top 4 into the 4th position, where I think he rightly deserved to be. This guy's upper body seems to keep improving it, but his legs just don't have that, as you like to say, wow factor that the rest of his body does.
Yeah, the good thing about Fouad is that he's a young guy. Unlike Stubbs, Fouad's going to be able to bring up his legs if he works hard at it to match his upper body, and then he's a guy that'll win these shows.
I don't think Fouad has any injuries down there. I think it's just a matter of it's a stubborn body part for him, and he's going to have to work real hard. And the fact that he's going back to the Olympia is got to make him feel great.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for him. Just keep working at it.
Let's talk about 5th place finisher Robert Petrosky. And did I mess that up?
Not even close.
Petrakowicz from Poland. Last week, nowhere to be found. I don't even know. I don't think they even knew what his name was last week. This week he comes in here. He makes the top 5. He almost looked like he had wound up out of the top 5 because the call-outs were kind of strange. The guy's got no doubt about it. Unbelievable conditioning. He's got a tremendous amount of muscle on his body. He's won like pretty much every European title out there. His waist is not quite as, I guess you could say, streamlined as some of the other top 5 guys. What'd you think of him?
He's not aesthetically pleasing at all, but he got his ass in condition, and he beat the other guys here. There's a matter of beating who showed up today, and he did that.
His front most muscular, crab most muscular, is pretty freaking impressive, and that alone might have landed him in the top 5.
Yeah, definitely. When you look at that one pose, he blew a lot of guys off the stage.
Now let's talk about 6th place finisher. Poor Ben White. He's 5th place last week. He comes back here this week. He's definitely markedly better. He runs into a slightly tougher lineup with a different judging panel, and unfortunately he winds up in 6th place. It really doesn't matter much already because he'll be going to the Olympia anyway. Any nice girls you checking out over there?
Got a little distracted. Jenny Lynn walking by.
If there's a girl walking by this guy, we'll take a look. Getting back to what I was saying, Ben really, has a problem in terms of when he runs up against guys that are a little bigger than him, I think. His conditioning was flawless. He beats Tarek El Satui. He beats Ed Nunn. I mean, he beats some quality competitors that could very well have been in that top 5. What do you think Ben needs to do moving forward?
The funny thing with Ben was I think he got screwed with actually his number in the lineup. When he walked out in the prejudging, he was between Joel Stubbs and Bill Wilmore, and he just looked tiny standing there. It wasn't until he came out by himself where you saw what great shape he was in, what a nice tight package he had there.
Well, speaking of Ed Nunn, and I think he made a good pro debut. Does the guy need more muscle? Without a doubt. He's a tall guy. Does he have beautiful muscle and nice symmetry and excellent conditioning? Without a doubt. I really couldn't complain about anything about him except to say keep getting bigger, man.
Yeah, I listened to Carolyn Bryant call it pretty muscle about 10 times while he posed today. He's got a beautiful shape, and a couple years, 10 more pounds, he'll be a threat.
And Tarek El Satui comes in much better shape. And I was very critical of him from behind in terms of conditioning, but I realized that he has a problem. When he hits his back double bicep and real lat spread pose, he doesn't flex his glutes and hamstrings. When he does, they're in. He has striated glutes. I think he needs to work on his presentation.
Yeah, his hamstrings and glutes are almost like pulsing. He'd hit it for 2 seconds, you'd see the striations, and then he'd let it go.
Let's talk about the men's 202 class because that was a very hotly contested contest here tonight. Charles Dixon, I've been telling this guy for like 2 years now, you come in shape, you come in with striated glutes, and you're going to win this contest. And you know what? He almost did it tonight because it was a tie for first place going into the final round. Tricky Jackson, who just keeps getting better and better week to week to week, decided to hang in there for another week. He wins the Best Poser Award, ties with Marcus Haley, wins the Best Poser Award, and he edges out poor Charles Dixon in that final round. In your opinion, what was the deciding factor?
Yeah, I picked Tricky in the prejudging. He filled out from last week where he came in a little flat, not quite as crisp, and he just outposed him. He looked like the pro that should have won the show today.
Yeah, I definitely would have to say that Tricky's a better poser, has better presentation. Being a guy who likes a lot of muscle and conditioning, I had to go with Charles Dixon, and I love you, Tricky, out there. You know that, But Charles Dixon to me is packed with muscle. There's not a gap in his physique, not a weakness anywhere, except, like you pointed out, maybe he doesn't present it as well as he could.
Yeah, it's the traditional size versus shape argument. I don't think anybody would argue it if Charles won the show, but it was nice to see Tricky finally get the win.
And it just goes to show you sometimes that presentation is very important and can sometimes be a deciding factor in that win.
Yeah, absolutely. Tricky's won the Best Poser Award 2 weeks in a row, and not just for his great routines, but he presents himself well in every mandatory.
Finishing in third was probably the most heroic performance of the night. Chris Dim, who 2 years ago today had a ruptured aorta, almost died. He was in on surgery for 5 hours, open heart surgery. They told him he'd never lift again. Defied all the odds, comes back here. Not only does he make a good appearance, he looks better than he ever did before, and he comes in third qualifying for his not for his first Olympia, but qualifying for the 202 Olympia.
Chris is another guy who was blessed with the 202 class. I think maybe for a while there he was trying to play the mass game and bulk up, and now he got back to that shape that he had when he turned pro, and it's probably the best he's been.
This is a guy who always comes in good shape. Striated glutes, cross-striated pecs. The arms are ridiculous looking, obviously, and I'm happy for the guy because you know what, I think he's been through a lot. I mean, not many people should have to go through what he did in their life at all, much less at the age he did, and to come back from that and to redeem himself in a way and wind up on the Olympia stage is really a testament to his willpower.
Yeah, he's glad to just wake up every day now, and he's getting to go to the Olympia, so that's a real blessing for him.
Now, the two British guys who were second and third last week, John Hodgson, Lee Powell, wind up in fourth and fifth. At this point in time, I don't think that they were too disappointed. They kind of know the way the game works. I guess Chris Dim had to qualify for the Olympia. They had their night in the sun last week. They'll be going through the Olympia, they told me, for sure, and they'll be coming back better and stronger than they were before. John Hodgson has some incredible conditioning. He might have been harder this week than he was last week, although I kind of liked him a little fuller the way he was last week.
Yeah, it looked like they both suffered a little something probably. You know, they're over here from England.